All right, ladies and gentlemen, I hope you had a wonderful day. It was a wild start to the week led by Bitcoin in the chip stocks, and by the end of it, everybody was brought up with the moral dilemma, we'll call it, of why they are trading anything else and not just buying NVDA because it keeps outperforming. So, Chad, we got a ton of things to talk about. Tomorrow, we'll kick off the first set of big data to start off a week filled with big data and pow. We still got a couple of earnings in the morning, and now we are firmly getting ready for March and the new SEP only a couple weeks out. So, Chad, I got the plays, I got the keys, all that good stuff. What I need from you, a thumbs up on the video, make sure you're subscribed, and if you don't know, we are live Monday through Friday, 30 minutes before open, youtube.com/thestockmarket. We will see you there in the morning. Run it, baby.
Working to the couch, it's the 2020 last. Live in the hills, but still get a spread. Started with a live, but still reinvest it. Feel how I feel, then you feel like a blessing. I just want the lesson, I just want protection. I'm up and I'm down, but the sound like progression. Farmer never plans if he waits for perfection. Finger to the down, hold it.
But right off the bat, before we get into the keys, as far as what happened today, there was a lot of different things going on. The chips seemingly got a boost because SMCI got added to the S&P 500 on Friday. That boosted it up, and I figured NVIDIA followed along. There was bad headlines out of Apple. There was a couple of earnings, even SC. They ended up doing good in the morning. There wasn't good news out of China, and overall, we were kind of in a wait-and-see mode after all of the data and PCE and data that you got on Thursday and Friday last week. So that's what got us here, but the interesting part about it, and we're going to talk about this a lot, you'll notice everything was down. Every index closed in the red. SMCI was up 16%. NVIDIA was still up 4%. And even though we were red today, I believe more stocks ended up closing green than in the red. So it was an interesting dynamic. Maybe a little weird is how you've heard us call it here before, because you did it once again. We hit a high and then you sold off. So even though it was red, you are coming off of an all-time high, and then we are kind of doing this back and forth until we get the big data. So that's what we got today. I think we're going to get a lot of that tomorrow. There wasn't really anything to digest today. We did not start off the week with any crazy data. It was really just the resumption of last week and everybody digesting that. And like I said at the beginning of the video here today, the data tomorrow morning, ISM services, that should kick things off, and it's going to let us know how the bonds are going to react. Are we going to get another week of equities kind of brushing things off and waiting for the biggest set of data and letting the bonds do its thing, as well as the dollar? That's another big effect. Or are we going to see things kind of move sensitively? But like we said yesterday, this is the final weeks of big data. After this week, this is the final ISM and final non-farms and job openings, and that's on Wednesday, not Tuesday, that you are going to be getting ahead of Powell. You do have CPI next week, but for the most part, this set of data here, it should get the ball rolling, and now we'll see how sensitive people are, because this is that runway starting to close in. So keep your eyes out for all of that. Watch out for that for tomorrow. Today was an interesting effect, and now that leads into the second key. The phenomena you saw today is something we were talking about the last couple days, and that has been the broadening out of the market. It is very much still a theme, and you saw that clearly here today. Even though the market was red, you saw certain industries outperform. Another industry besides the chip makers, it was the banks. Even though NYCB, they sold off completely, the regionals and the big banks, they found a way to hold up. And this is something where if you just look across the board today, there was a lot of other industries that held up. Even the Russell, it barely closed red, and really up until that last like 30 minutes, it was green. So watch if this keeps playing out, because if we keep getting these hit an all-time high and then sell off, and then a couple of the big names are running, or just a couple of big chips, the other big names stay stagnant and everything else runs, this is quite telling towards how the market is moving, and maybe this is where we see March kind of play out, where some of the big guys calm down a little bit and then we watch everyone else run, or we're going to watch the dominant names, or maybe it's an everything rally. Who knows? But like I'm saying here, watch how other things play into it, other factors, whether it be the data or even broader sentiment. That's where that Bitcoin stuff comes into play, because even if nothing is moving, it may seem like it's only one or two areas, but like if one thing is moving and like Bitcoin is moving big, that is saying a lot about how people are feeling towards risk. And lately it has been hard to ignore the lagging and leading components of both of those, both the markets and Bitcoin. So watch out for that. We'll see how this week plays out, and if things keep broadening out, or if specific pockets keep getting in their outperformance. And then finally, the last thing I want to mention here is coming into the data, we had very strong gold today, right below all-time highs. Crypto is breaking out, and the dollar is still near the highest point of the year, and now this is getting kind of awkward. My question is it snitching before the data? We will find out, but what I'm saying here is now coming into this final set of data, I do think CPI next week, it will be very important. The jobs report is this Friday. Last time it was very strong. We did react negatively a little bit. Eventually, equities went up, the bonds went down. We'll see how that plays into this next week, and then even the CPI, but you are starting to get some very weird and extended movements, especially now that gold is going up while the dollar is up and the odds of rate cuts have pulled back. So we'll see if this is either leading, or maybe we're just going to get a whole new dynamic. We will have to wait and see, but this is something that stood out. I don't really have an answer to it, but I'm pointing it out now because this is something I will be watching into these coming weeks ahead of the SEP. But besides that, we'll take the data this week, see where it leads us, see some of the earnings, but now let us get into the plays. So, right off the bat, we made a couple of plays here today. I got clapped here off the morning. I went after uranium. I grabbed 1,000 shares. I only meant to grab 500, then double filled on CCJ, but there was a uranium bill, so watch out for that. I did take profits, I believe, on that Intel play. If you guys remember, those averaged down with the chips, and then I think that was it. And then we added, or then we sold AMT, and then I bought a Pfizer there while they spoke at TD Cohen, but that was a dub. But as far as play number one, this is a play I don't have for tomorrow. I'm going to be keeping an eye on Coinbase. They were hitting like 235 today, and this is an absolutely massive move. If they get up to 250, there is going to be a lot of crazy breakout levels, and that's what I'm saying here. I would just watch the levels, maybe even watch for them to top out and even a move to the downside. But for now, they are getting involved with all of the crypto hype, and the thing about today, they were outperforming the miners. I think all of the crypto miners went down and closed pretty solidly red today, and Coinbase was absolutely killing it along MSTR. So crypto is only a couple of $100, I believe, away from a record high. Coinbase is now getting back to like early IPO levels. I even think after one of my average downs in the long term, we're almost green on this. So this is going to be one to watch. I think there is just going to be a lot of dollars in this play. If you remember last year with NVDA, there was a lot of dollars and a lot of movement. You might get that here on Coinbase because it is quickly into the 230s. It was just at the low or mid 100s, and now if it's knocking on the door of 300, things will start getting very interesting. So as far as a momentum play, going to be keeping my eyes out on Coinbase. I currently have no plays on that, so watch out for that. That is play number one. Then play number two, we ran the numbers here today, and this one, although I wanted to play it, I don't think the options were priced too bad. I figured we will get a better post earnings on this tomorrow, and I am talking about targets. So the options weren't too bad for 2 standard deviations. There was a little bit more of premium, but the way I was looking at it, their last earnings, they had a very big move. Other than that, their other earnings weren't that big. I think they are going to move in line. So watch out tomorrow with how they move. And the thing about target, these are one where they report in the morning, they have their conference call. It is either going to have one of those quick reverse follow-up moves right off the open, or it's going to make that big move off of the earnings, kind of stay pinned, and then wait for the delayed move a couple days later, and then we're going to be out on the lookout for a swing trade on target. So watch out for that, but definitely going to be watching this in the morning. We'll see if it even sparks anything related to the consumer, as everyone's in the spirit of responding to data this week, but we'll find out. That is play number two. Then play number three, Oh, I think I actually have more than 2 plays for you today, or 3, but play number 3, SPXEW. And this one's interesting because you could play this or you could watch it. At the very least, I would watch this as an indicator, and right now it is an interesting hybrid between the Russell and the SPY. What is the SPXEW? It is the SPY equal weight. So it is showing you the S&P 500, but on an equal weight basis. So 1 or 2 stocks that go up 300-400% don't weigh on it and make it look like everything's going crazy. And why this has been so fascinating, because if you pull out the equal weighted SPY index, you will notice it is not broken out of all-time highs. I think you could say the same thing here about the Russell as well. This is something we've talked about from the beginning of the year. I did sell out recently, but this one has also been trailing behind as well. So the thing about the Russell, equal W, equal weight, I think it's a good mix between both the SPY and Russell. You could play it if you want or watch out for it, but again, days like today, I think it really stood out because this thing was positive even though the market was red, and even though it seemed like Bitcoin and chips was increasing risk, the market was red, and you did have some bigger names pulling down, but a majority of names were higher. So watch out for that. Thought that was an interesting one to bring up. And then finally, play number 4. This was one, forgot to bring this one up yesterday. I made this play on Friday. I'm still holding it. Had 500 shares of SPR. I believe I grabbed them around 32.80. I'm up like 4 or 5% on this. I may want to get out of this one tomorrow or throughout the end of the week here, but they had that news from buyout. There was more confirmation. No price has been discussed, and that's pretty much why this play has been riding out. So keep your eyes out for it. There was a couple like that, like ATIS last week, and they held up and kind of melted up, and we didn't get a follow-up. So we'll see how this one ends up playing out. But that is play number 4. There was even news on Boeing today, but as far as everything else, I told you about the options that I got out of. The only other play that we made today for earnings was Ferg. I saw that they just absolutely killed it, had a crazy pre-earnings run up, so I grabbed an out-of-the-money put at like 180, 190, and it was like $20, and they were just there. So thought it was a very great deal. They were only pricing in 5%, and then it went up before the close, so I made it free, did a ghetto spread on that, and I sold the contract below it for more than I paid. So no risk for earnings. Sold out of ARM shares, got like a $600 profit, and then that was the only trades I made. And like I said, I went after that uranium play, but I got clapped on that. But down to swing that here, and we'll see how uranium plays out. Last time there was anything related to a bill, it went a little crazy, but we will find out. Besides that, we'll ride the data. Still in bond plays. I may look to exit some of those around some of the data releases this week. Other than that, we'll take it all as it comes, ride the golden path, and see where Powell and the data will leave us. But Chad, that is your watch list, ladies and gentlemen. Make sure hydrate healthy, ready to go. Make sure post your watch list. Make sure we see you there in the morning. I need the armor on. I need the helmet shining. And I need you to remember, you should make a habit after all of the disappointments being good, because sometimes it is all leading you right where you need to be, baby. Listen to the signs and don't fight it. You are right where you need to be. But Chad, drink that water. Stay hydrated. Stay healthy. I'll see you in the AM. Get ready for a lot more on the way. And on.